So LMS is your learning management system, and for the most part, that is where you're going to put anything training related for your customers or for your staff. The size company before purchasing an LMS can be anywhere from 1 to 1,000 people. I mean, it really doesn't matter the size of the company. What you need to consider is what kind of services you want to deliver to those people. So even if you're just a company of one who wants to get, your PMP certification, you can still do this through any kind of online LMS. But if you're a company of 100 or 1,000 that requires competency training, or you do a lot of instructor-led training on site, any of those things you would want to consider. So your homework before purchasing an LMS should include anything, obviously, from your size. Also, what kind of things do you want as far as branding goes? What kind of content do you want to deliver? Is it going to be something that you're going to customize, or do you just want to buy an out-of-the-box service that delivers all the content for you? You also want to think about your reporting needs, certification needs, if it's going to be competency-based, so if it's something that they're going to require to retake every single year. So reporting that comes out of an LMS can be many different things. It could just be something as far as, how many times did a user access the site, and then you want to know if they even accessed any content. So did they ask content? How much of it did they use? Did they complete it? It gives you a lot of analysis on what you can actually see your staff doing and whether or not you're actually getting your return on investment on it. The ease of reporting is definitely important when selecting an LMS, because you want something to come out into a format like Excel or CSV or even a PDF so that it's easy for you to read. Excel obviously being the most important so that you can do pivot tables and actually see the numbers instead of just looking at 1,000 rows and not really putting it together. Compliance is definitely a huge factor because you need to be able to track it. Even if it's something that you can't report on, you want to be able to have certification capabilities with it so that your staff can print out the certification and have proof that they actually took the course. But with the reporting, you also want to have that important function on there of, is it complete, so that you can report back to whoever needs this that you're actually compliant. Some do and some don't, yes, for sure. There's some that will let you maybe just put on a logo or even just the name of what your company is, but there's others that will actually let you brand it so it looks like it was developed in-house. You can change your colors, your logo, put your company branding on there, even load the content that's based on your company. It is definitely important to know if you can customize your own site, because if you can't, then you're going to have to include additional costs to hire somebody from the LMS provider to do that for you. It's much easier if you can just have that option to do it yourself and then customize it and play with it the way that you want to have it set. All learning management systems are not built the same. Some are definitely easier to manage than others. We've seen hundreds of them work, and some of them are not as user-friendly as they make it sound. Sometimes you might buy a site because it is more administrator-friendly, so when it comes to loading the content and building it, it's easier because you don't need to have coding capabilities. But as far as the end-user experience, it can be quite overwhelming and distracting, and they won't take advantage of it. You want to make sure that you choose something that is more user-friendly than administrator-friendly. You should definitely consider the other systems that you have when considering an LMS, because you want to see if there's any implementation that you can do. So if you have an HRIS system with all your staff, you can integrate that with some different sites so that it's easier for the users to log into. But also if you have other sites that have training on it, you want to be able to integrate that with your learning management system so that completions can be recorded all at one time. They do not all handle instructor-led training. Some sites are built primarily for instructor-led training, and others are built for primarily e-learning, and then there's some that also include both. So you definitely need to shop around to see what kind of training you want to offer and what your LMS is going to provide. So when looking at your service and support after you buy your LMS, you want to know if there's going to be any kind of end user support, because end users obviously will have a lot of issues sometimes with logging in or computer things, with maybe computers not being accessible. So you need to know if they're going to offer support for the LMS or if they're going to offer support for connection issues. You also want to make sure that you're going to be supported as the administrator. There can definitely be hidden costs in the support for negotiations because, I mean, if you want support, sometimes they'll charge an additional fee for the support. And if you want to hire somebody on your own end, you need to take that into consideration as well as training your own support team. I always recommend, if you can do a combination of both, something that can be stored on-premise or can be cloud-based so that users can access it via internet, that is always the best option. I highly recommend using the internet-based, something that's off the cloud, because it's something that can be usually accessed anywhere in the world at any time. You can access it from multiple different types of devices. A lot of the times, some things that are on-premise can not necessarily be done over internet as easily. They might have to go through different obstacles in order to log in from home or from anywhere else. And on-premise sometimes can only be accessed at work. I mean, cloud-based stuff is getting more and more secure as we go, right? It's being housed in different parts around the world now, so I find the security of it is definitely up to par, if not better than some on-premise systems. Absolutely, like see who's going to be hosting it for sure. If the provider is hosting it themselves, or if they actually hire a third party to host their content on their servers, such as Microsoft or something, you want to make sure that their systems are going to be as secure as hosting it on your systems. Absolutely, deciding on where people are going to be taking their learning or what kind of device is extremely important. More and more people are working from home nowadays, or working remotely, sometimes even just from hotels or different parts of the world, right? So taking those into consideration is 100% important. Yes, there has been a few times where obviously even just because they include APIs or anything like that and they say our systems are easy to integrate, it's not always as easy as they make it sound. You have to ask a lot of questions, and you should also ask your LMS provider if they've had any that failed. Sometimes some systems just don't like to talk to each other as much as you think it would. Oh, I would definitely ask the provider that you're going to go to what their challenges have been, and hopefully they'll be completely honest. But if they've had a failure in their system, we want to know what failed and why did it fail. Was it a specific program that it wasn't compatible with, or was there just maybe you're a Mac-based company and maybe this LMS wasn't compatible with Macs. So you got to ask all those questions. Yeah, so when selecting the LMS, my top things that I would really think about is just making sure that it's going to be user-friendly, because a lot of the times we've just seen it where users go in there, there's too much going on, they can't find their stuff, and they just forget about it. So they're not going to take full advantage of the system. I've used the LMSs that we provide for training myself, and I find that doing the self-paced is much more easy than sometimes doing the ILT, because you can do it whenever. If you have a half an hour there, an hour there, you can just do it. So I think selecting something that's really user-friendly is probably one of the most important tips you could have.